Two members of Lisdoonvarna Tidy Towns have teamed up with local transition year students to help the community better prepare for severe weather and emergencies. Dowd and Sharon Donnelly recently spent an afternoon with students from Mary Immaculate kicking off a new Severe Weather Preparedness Project that will see practical guides created for homes and businesses ahead of future storm seasons. They're joining us now to talk about the project, the student involvement and why community preparedness is so important. Brian and Sharon, a very good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Good morning, Alan. Thank you.
Sharon, can you tell us how this Severe Weather Preparedness Project came about, and why did Lisdoonvarna Tidy Towns, why do you guys feel this was the right time to be focusing on storm and emergency readiness with the students?
I suppose it sort of comes a bit from the fact that, as you can tell, that I'm Australian and I've lived in some areas in Australia which are affected by severe weather. For example, in far north Queensland, where we would normally get 4 to 5 cyclones a year. And then I've lived in bushfire areas as well. And in those communities, the councils in particular run a very strong awareness campaign at the beginning of that cyclone season, which is the same time as the Irish storm season, starting in November through until May. And these awareness programs are published in the media, newspapers, radio. We get letterbox drops, and they're basically a whole range of information. It could be just a 2-page brochure. It could be something more detailed, but it makes the community aware of the season's about to happen. And are you ready? Do you have an evacuation plan? Do you have an emergency kit? Do you have an evacuation kit? And it also gives you all the information regarding resources available before the event and after for the cleanup. For example, emergency services, and a lot of things that you don't actually think about prior until you're in the middle of the crisis and you think, why didn't I do that? So there'll be lists of items for your emergency kit, for example, water, power banks, batteries, tarps, ropes, like some non-perishable foods, medications, and also your evacuation plan. Where is the nearest safe place should my house have the roof taken off or destroyed? Where can I shelter? So just felt that there was a gap here, that preparation wasn't being addressed so much. And as in Ireland, and particularly as the storms are getting a lot worse, for example, the air wind took everyone by surprise.
Yeah, like when you were talking to the students, Brian, I mean, how did those TY students at Mary Immaculate respond when you introduced the project? Was that severe weather and severe weather preparedness, were they ever issues do you think they'd even thought about, or severe storms or so on, or maybe with Storm Éowyn only having happened at the end of January this year, something like that was fresher in their minds?
Yes, absolutely, Alan, and that's exactly the case. I think everybody in the room had experience of Storm Éowyn, and it was fresh in people's memory of the problems that caused, and the bits of the response to that storm that didn't work, and the bits that worked very well. So I think there was a good community response, although I think it was late coming about. It took a while before people realised the severity of the storm, but it was still fresh in everybody's mind. So the students in the school all had their own personal experiences of what happened and how they were cut off from their social networks, their friends. There was no heating in the houses. Farmers, had struggled to look after livestock. So these were some of the effects that the people were very much aware of and saw that could be dealt with if they were better prepared.
Sharon, what kind of ideas or energy did the students bring to the brainstorming sessions? And I'm sure when you were telling them about your own experiences in Australia and how you can get cyclones over there, they were pretty wide-eyed hearing that.
Yes, especially when I detailed some of the experiences I had with say Cyclone Yardzi, which was in 2011, and that was a Category 5 where we had wind speeds of 285 kilometres an hour. And with Aowen, I think it reached 183. So this was about 100 kilometres an hour stronger. So, yes, they did sort of start to pay attention. And also the lessons you learn after being through an event like that. For example, in Yardzi, there was 3 people who unfortunately died, but it was an indirect result of the cyclone. It was because they had their generator inside the house running, and they died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, these are the sort of things that you learn, that people sometimes they're not aware of. They might have it in a room or something like that because it's the only place undercover. These are the don'ts that you don't do with an event like that.
Yeah, and it's sad to hear that, Sharon, that people had prepared for it but just hadn't prepared in the right way.
Exactly. And also, I don't think they were aware either. But given that the strength of those winds and the force of that cyclone, the loss of life was, pretty minimal in comparison to what maybe would have happened in other countries, because there is a sense of preparedness, and houses are built for those cyclone-rated houses, but people prepared, and they were without power and water for weeks afterwards. But, it's doing things like, as I explained to the students, like after Aowen, if you could get to your corner store, you got there, but they didn't have power either. They had no refrigeration. Maybe their staff weren't able to turn up, but they couldn't process any sales because they didn't have any electricity for ATM transactions. So therefore, part of your preparation for a severe storm is have an adequate amount of cash on you. And the other thing is too, you can't go to a petrol station and pump petrol because there's no electricity. So make sure that your vehicles are full of petrol, that you'll have spare cans of fuel as well, especially if you have a generator. These sort of things that you have to step through and really think about in depth.
And I guess, Brian, that's where the merit of this particular project is, that it's about instilling these habits in people and instilling the habits in them while they are young, and bring those through for the rest of their lives, and be prepared when not if, but when future severe weather events happen.
Yeah, well, we're delighted to have the opportunity to work with the students in Mary Immaculate. We think that this is something that will be extremely useful for the community as a whole. So in the students putting this together, we will end up with guidance in whatever forms they end up deciding are most appropriate. Maybe leaflets, maybe posters, maybe handouts or booklets, and that's all to be worked through by the students. And I think this will be of great value to the local community. There are guidelines available. I think the government has done some work on this, and I know that ESB have also done work, but they're not targeted to the local community. So we see that this will have the local numbers that people need to contact for help, the local resources that are available to people in the Lisdoonvarna area. So it'll be of huge value.
Yeah, Sharon, you've printed this preparedness guide in both print and digital formats. What will the final guide include for households and businesses, and how important are things like checklists, emergency kits and local contact information as part of all of that?
I think that it sort of prompts people to think about situations and also prepare the kit that they need, like a toolkit to deal with any emergency. So the students are going to do it in a range of different media, both electronic and printed, but also maybe run some discussion groups and also presentations in the local community. But they'll also get out and talk to a lot of the first responders, for example, the Fire Brigade, the Gardaí, and various other organisations like the RNLI, and talk to them face to face and get them into the school to talk to them about what their plans are, what resources they have and how they can interact with them. So I think that will also expand their knowledge and awareness as well.
And I suppose, Brian, given how we saw many communities throughout Ireland impacted in the aftermath of Storm AO, and is this a model that could be rolled out in other communities for, if not a project like this, similar projects at least?
Absolutely. That's definitely the case, and we hope and expect that there will be interest from other Tidy Towns groups and indeed from Clare County Council or other communities around the country. And I think part of the value of this is not just the checklists and the outcome, but the actual involvement of the students in preparing this, their engagement with other community organisations and with other service providers within the community. So I think there's benefits that go beyond just producing a checklist. I think the work that the students can do here will be of great value to them also.
Yeah, really interesting project, and given recent events in this country that we've discussed, one that is very much needed. My thanks to both of you, Brian Dowd there and Sharon Donnelly, both members of Lisdoonvarna Tidy Towns, speaking to us about that Severe Weather Preparedness Project.